get into like a perpetual loop of it's just not working, and I just keep trying the same thing. Like it's going to eventually work better.
Yeah.
It looks like we're waiting for board members to join us. So let's give it a couple of minutes here.
Hey, since it might be a minute or two, I'm new to the neighborhood, and this is the first meeting I'm joining. I don't quite understand the full structure and of everything, but could someone just give a brief overview? You might already do this in the agenda, but like who's the board? Are they community members or Oakwood members, or what's like the structure of all these meetings? And I've heard there's like 5 different boards, right?
Five different boards. That is correct. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. Brandon, do you want to jump in with a brief overview while I multitask here? And Brendan, you're on mute. I'm not sure if you're trying to help me out or not. Nope, you're off mute, but we can't hear you. All right, so Brandon's having technical difficulties. Charles, for your benefit, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
There are 5 different districts, Erie Highlands 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Currently, there are residents living in districts 1 and 2. Yeah, I think just 1 and 2 at this point. Somebody correct me if I have that wrong. We do have a full resident board on District 1, that district is not meeting today. We had some district business for 2 through 4 that didn't include 1, so we don't have a meeting of 1 today, although we do have 2 board member representatives joining us. Josh Malm and Jason Manley are on the line today. The board members for districts 2 through 5 are currently Oakwood representatives with 1 resident as well. Chris Carlton is also a resident of the community. We do have a vacancy on District 2's board. Brendan, I think you're coming through now. Is that you? Oh, sorry. I thought I heard you for a second. We did just have an election in May, and even in District 2, where we do have residents, we had no residents actually run for the board. So we currently have a vacancy, which you actually can see on the screen if you're sharing here. And I can put up a map, which will sort of give you the lay of the land for where the districts are currently located. Part of today's business is actually to change some of these boundaries, because you'll see that we have currently some overlap of districts over here where development hasn't started yet. So part of the agenda for today is to remove that overlap. And we'll discuss that more in the meeting.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Hey.
Brandon, loud and clear.
Hi. Well, good. That's great. Sorry about that. I heard you. I heard your entire intro there. So thank you for that. And my AirPods are not connecting on the mic, so I'll ditch them.
It's always fun.
It's Zoom gave me problems the past couple of days, and the microphone on the computer. Hopefully, if you have any troubles hearing me, let me know. You know, it's the microphone on the computer is not great either.
Nope, you're coming across loud and clear. It looks to me, Brandon, like we currently have you and Chris Carlton on the line. I've got a Samsung that I don't know who that is that's muted, but I don't think we have a quorum of any of the boards. So we will need to have Bruce or Kelly join us.
I was anticipating Kelly would be joining us, so he might be on a phone line.
So Kelly, if you're one of my mystery muted folks, let me know. If not, maybe we can reach out to him and get him to join, see if he's running late.
And Jennifer, the map that you provided was a good overview. Maybe if you want to pull it back up.
Yeah, this is the current. I'm sorry. This is the current. These are the current boundaries, right here.
So Charles, I understand that you are new to the community, so welcome to the community, and welcome to the board meeting as well. What area do you live in specifically?
Looks like I'm in District 1.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm essentially right across from the clubhouse.
Okay.
On that inner circle there. Yeah, I appreciate the overview.
Yeah, hopefully that was, it's one of those, I don't know how much, how much detail to get into. Feel free to
Right.
ask us questions as we go along.
Yeah. So is Jason M the representative for District 1 then?
Jason M and Josh Malm, who are both on today, they are both on the District 1 board, yes.
Awesome. Great.
And we're actually your neighbors. We're both right there off of Highlands Circle.
Okay. Wait, Jason, are you the one just 2 houses down from me with the corgis?
Yes.
Oh, solid. All right.
I love it. This is a way for neighbors to meet.
So the other
Probably not the
folks,
intent, but nice to get some names and faces around. Anyways.
so the other folks on the District 1 board, Jennifer, you want to just speak to that? Do you have that available?
Yeah. So our District 1 board members are Josh Malm. He just ran for election, so his term is actually up. This is an old agenda, but 2025. Sam Mayer, Jennifer Baum, Joel Smith, and Jason Manley. Jason also just ran for election, so this is also 2025.
So there's going to be the election in May of 2023. So Sam, Jennifer, and Joel would be up for election at that point in time, correct?
Yep, that is correct.
So Charles, if you're so interested, you can run for the board in 23.
And Kelly just sent me a message saying he's having some technical difficulties, so he's trying to get on right now. So I apologize for the delay here, everybody.
Okay. And maybe Jennifer, while we're sitting here, District number 2, you got the agenda up here. We have Kelly, myself, Chris Carlton, Brice Rao. We have 3 seats that are up in May of 23 and May of 25 as well. And I don't believe anyone had provided any self-nomination forms for the recent
No.
timeline.
Yeah, we hadn't received anybody. We were getting down to the wire. And so Bruce Rao, who, as you know, is an Oakwood representative, he did run for re-election because otherwise that seat would have been vacant as well.
Y'all hear me?
Yes, Kelly?
No, this is Josh. I'm the Samsung phone. I'm not sure why I'm not identified. Josh Drake. I'm a resident in District 2.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Well, speaking to that, I guess before Kelly jumps on, there is the 1 vacancy right now for District number 2. And if there are any folks that have expressed interest, we can gather interest, for District number 2 to see if there's any interest from any residents to serve on the board in District number 2. Anyone else on the call right now living in District number 2?
I'd be interested. I need the information though.
Okay. So tell me your name again.
Josh Drake.
Drake.
D-R-A-K-E.
Josh, I'm sending you my email address. If you send me an email, I can give you some sort of general information about districts and sort of put you in touch with Brandon as well to answer questions. That way you know what you're getting into before you sign up.
Right? Is it a good paying position?
It is not, no. $100 a meeting.
Jennifer, you owe me some money.
Well, the boards actually have opted not to pay for district board meetings. So I guess I should say up to $100 a meeting if the boards decide to pay themselves. So we don't actually owe you money. I'm sorry, Jason, but the board can choose to start paying if they want to.
Killing me, Jennifer, killing me.
I know. I'm full of bad news today.
And I don't believe any of the folks that are currently on Districts 2 through 5 are provided any payment.
No.
If we're still waiting, I got another general question. With the financials to support the community and like the clubhouse and stuff like that. Was that scoped for the entire Erie Highlands at completion, or like District 1 and 2 at the time that those were all built, and now like additional funds are coming in, and or have we just been running at a deficit until all of the new houses are built?
You have keyed in on a question that the board's been working on for several months. So Brandon, I don't know if you or Josh or Jason want to chime in, but we're currently, it's a sort of like pending item that the boards have been working through to figure out how to fund operations
Okay.
on a going forward basis. To, I guess, succinctly answer your question, at this point, the boards are still working, operating at a deficit, and the developer has been funding that deficit.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I'm sure budgeting
Hello.
with inflation is a challenge anyway. So
Yeah. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I couldn't share my screen for a good 5 minutes, and we couldn't hear Brandon, so I mean, you're right on time.
Oh, great. Yeah, and I'm obviously on my phone, so.
All right.
Okay.
With that, Brandon, or Kelly, I guess, Kelly, you are the chairman. Kelly, do you want to call the meetings to order?
I will call the meeting to order.
All right. And I assume you want me to run through the agenda for you?
Please.
All right. So we do have a quorum of districts 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sorry, people still joining in the waiting room. So we have a quorum of all 4 boards that are meeting today. We did file disclosures on behalf of the directors that have provided them for all 4 districts, at least 72 hours before the meeting. I will just pause to see if any of the directors have any new or different conflicts that they want to disclose.
None here.
All right. As Brandon noted, while we were waiting, we do have, for directors matters, we do have some vacancies, at least on District 2's board. So just to note that we did get some interest possibly from a resident. So get in touch with us if you'd like to be appointed to the District 2 board. Moving up to item 3, and I will run these meetings as usual, as concurrently as possible. So unless I specify otherwise, a motion for one district would be a motion for all 4 districts, likewise with the vote. So for item 3, I do have an addition for item 5B to the agendas, which would be the November meeting minutes. Those were on the January meeting agendas, but we didn't have a quorum of district boards 2 through 5, so they weren't approved. So we missed adding those to the agenda, but I would ask to add those as item 5B.
Okay.
That I don't have any other changes to suggest. Does anybody else have a change to the agenda?
I'm here.
Hearing no other changes, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agendas as revised.
Motion to approve as presented or
As
revised.
Thank you.
As revised.
I will second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Item 4 is public comment for matters not on the agenda. We've had some dialogue while we were waiting to get a quorum, but do any members of the public have any matters for any 4 of the district boards that are meeting today that they'd like to make for items not on the agenda?
Hi, Jennifer. Josh Mullen here.
Hi, Josh.
Good morning. Hey, and Charles, welcome to the meeting. I avoided popping in before the meeting just because I had some planned comments. So I'll just take a couple minutes of time for a couple of items that aren't on specifically on today's agenda. There were really 2 items that I wanted to address. And, first item is, I wanted to share kind of what I perceive as kind of a lack of engagement from the boards 2 through 5 with board 1 and working through a lot of budgeting issues over this last year. So today's meeting is a really great example. We've now canceled 2 special consolidated meetings because the Oakwood folks were not able to achieve a quorum and engage with board 1 to have a really deep discussion about some of the budget concerns that we've all had around the Metro District. Today would have been a great opportunity to engage board 1 put that agenda item back on there since there were other important pressing items from the Oakwood side that needed to be addressed. But there was no outreach to myself or to any of the other District 1 board members to do that, other than receiving the public notice with everyone else. So.
And Josh, I won't take time away from you. I do want to apologize because I meant to reach out to you actually specifically this week. And I ended up sick after my mom left for visit, because I wanted to let you know that I had purposely asked to not include the budget item on today's agenda because Shelby couldn't be here today because she has a funeral that she had to attend. So I actually wanted to apologize to you because I realized it this morning. So
No,
for me personally, I wanted to apologize because I didn't mean to let you know why that happened the way that it did today.
absolutely. And I appreciate all your coordination, Jennifer. I actually don't believe that's your responsibility to do so, but I appreciate you always taking the initiative to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, and just I'm sorry, it's just I think part of that too, Jennifer, like don't ever feel like that's your piece of it. I think part of what Josh and I feel is the last communication we've had about any of this was on 2/18. It's now 6/3. I've emailed out. We were supposed to get things out, so it's been since February since we've had any communication at all about plans for budgeting or anything along those lines. So while this would have been a great opportunity, it's
Sure.
been 4 months since we've had any communication from the boards or Shelby regarding budget.
Yeah.
Understood. I just like I said,
Okay.
I just wanted to apologize because it was sort of, I wanted to send you guys a note just saying, hey, this meeting is coming up and this is why it's not on the agenda. So I just wanted to apologize for that.
Sure. And if I could speak to maybe a couple of those things, we did follow with meetings after our last meeting with representatives from CLA and Timberline as well. We went through some projections in terms of the financial analysis, and unfortunately, we didn't get that back until I think about 2.5 weeks back, from CLA. So with that, Josh and Jason, I was going to give you a quick update on that before the meeting on today, just give you that heads up. We still need to reconvene on that analysis and reconvene on the discussion on the financial analysis. That was a part of the that's why it wasn't on the agenda today.
Sure.
So
I guess what I'd like to point out though is that boards 2 through 5 have no problem obtaining a quorum when there's items that are important to them, but when there's items that are important to District 1, I think we canceled the last 2 meetings because of last minute Oakwood trainings that got in the way, which was surprising to me. So it's frustrating to me because it's a tremendous waste of district resources, which we all know are tight. The professionals that we all have to run the district that show up to these meetings, Jennifer, CLA, everybody else that we pay hourly. I feel like that was a real waste of district resources and a true frustration. And we hear a lot of times where CLA has an analysis or Brandon has an analysis, but it never materializes. And it's always a rush to get everybody together for those. So, and then the second item I want to address that's kind of related, but somewhat separate is that, in the discussions that we've had over the last several meetings, I think District 1 has gotten really clear on kind of what the things are that we need Oakwood to take action on, or at least come back to us and say they're not willing to take action on, so that we can actually solve the budget issue for the consolidated districts. Simple things like funding of the reserves, right? We wanted to engage in a reserve study. We now have it. We know what the reserve should be. Our perspective is that the district should be turned over to the homeowners with reserves funded. Making whole on deferred maintenance. I had several community members reach out to me because it was, we all received a notice about making sure that you replace your dead trees in your yard, right? And that the district was considering putting out, warning letters and levying fines. Well, it's pretty funny when that comes from District 4 that has been sitting on dead trees for 3 or 4 years because that board refuses to appropriately fund maintenance of the community properties. So, things like that, funding, making whole of deferred maintenance and catching up on a lot of the things that have been put off. Representation on board 4. I know we're talking about that today, but that's been something that I discussed in public comment back in 2018 with Bruce, and he said it was, right around the corner. And, has not materialized, right? And I don't know where the discussion will go today, but we'll address that when we get to the agenda.
Yep, it's on the agenda for number 4. So we'll address it.
Cost sharing and build out, right? We have developed all of the community properties that I'm aware of, and but the build out of the community is incomplete, right? And making sure that we have, appropriate either upfront funding or commitments from Oakwood, so that the portion of the community properties that have been built principally as marketing material for Oakwood for their community are appropriately funded by Oakwood. I think that's fair. I recognize that that's not a requirement of Metro District, but that seems fair, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, and I'd like to hear where Oakwood stands on that. And then finally, based on kind of the understanding we got of the original service plan and understanding that, is a fulsome explanation of why when the service plan was put in place, the clubhouse was not contemplated, right? So when the Oakwood decided to add the clubhouse, which is a great community feature, there wasn't a fulsome analysis of what are the financial impacts, what are the things that we need to be thinking about, because now we have this really nice community resource that has essentially been the drag on the financials for the community. It should have been addressed 3, 4, 5 years ago. As soon as that clubhouse was thought of, the service plan, the budget that accompanied the service plan should have been considered, so that we wouldn't be addressing this 5 years later. Because I think the reason we have a bunch of dead trees is because we have a wonderful clubhouse. And I think that we should have trees and a clubhouse and wonderful maintenance, and all the community should be paying for all of those things. But we shouldn't be dealing with it now where we're going to ask new residents to pay for 5 years of deferred maintenance. I think that's really unfair to the homeowners. And for me to go to them and say, hey, we need to impose a fee, whatever that is, mill levy increase or service fee, whatever we want to do, I got to be able to explain to them how we got here. I think that's a really important step before my fellow board members are willing to go to the town and even consider how we implement that fee. So anyway, those are the items that I wanted to address that are not on the agenda. They shouldn't be any surprise to anybody. We've been talking about them forever, but in my opinion, they've been wholly unaddressed by boards 2 through 5.
Thank you, Josh. Any other members of the public for comment for matters not on the agenda? Okay, always like to give the minute for people to get off mute. With that, we can move on to item 5, which is the same for all district board agendas. This would be the January 10th, 2022 and the November meeting minutes as we added to the agenda. Those were, the January minutes were included in your packet. The November meeting minutes were sent out separately, I think yesterday morning. So if there's any comments or questions on those, I'd be happy to take them. If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, moving to item 6 on the district 2 and 4 agenda. This is a resolution imposing carriage house fees. That resolution was included in your meeting packet. This is for the carriage house product that's going to be located in filing 16. That's within the boundaries of district number 2. It's a joint resolution because it's within the district 2 boundaries, but district 4 will be directed to receive the revenues from those as the district that's coordinating the operations and maintenance for the districts. The resolution basically sets forth the requirements for putting a fee in place, adopting a fee of $99.38 per month per carriage house, interest and penalties, that it's a lien against the property if they're not paid, and the like. Really, the meat of the information is included in the attachments to the resolution. We did have a rate analysis done. Looks like here. Did have a rate analysis done back in November by TST Infrastructure just looking at the reasonableness of the fee that was being contemplated at the time, we did have to go through a process with the town to get this fee approved. This was submitted to the town back in January 13, and we did get approval of the town to impose this fee, which is also included here in your packet, somewhere down here. They did administratively approve the imposition of this fee after we had some discussions with the town manager. So happy to answer any questions on, here's the town approval. We did finally get that town approval on March 30th. So happy to answer any questions on the carriage house fee resolutions. If there are no questions, I'll be looking for a motion to approve by districts 2 and 4.
Question, just because I haven't been on the loop on this, that fee, is that on top of the normal Metro District tax?
It is, and that's a good question. I should have provided a little more context on the carriage house product. The carriage houses are sort of a fourplex product that have some additional operations and maintenance associated with them, additional snow removal, additional landscaping. So there's costs above and beyond what the sort of normal single family residences in the other parts of the community would be having. So it seems the fairest way to assess that in the board's mind was to impose a fee on those specific units so that it wasn't being paid for by the other property owners. So yes, this fee is specific to the carriage houses and is on top of the existing operations and maintenance mill levy.
Will that fee be in a separate budget used separately to provide those services that are separate to the carriage houses?
That is exactly, I would defer to Alyssa with the accounting team who's nodding on how exactly they account for it, but usually we see those going into a different segregated fund, which also then helps the boards for future if they need to adjust the fee.
Exactly, it's in its own fund.
Jennifer, I'll note that the budget, I think it's on page 43 of district number 4. I'm not sure what page is on number 2. But it wasn't, there's a detailed budget for the carriage house services, the operation maintenance services, landscape maintenance, snow removal.
Yeah, I think I managed to bring it up here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there's the detailed breakdown of the components of the services and the cost. The anticipated cost for this includes reserves amounts of 11.1%, contingency of 12%, snow removal of just under $20,000, and really the kind of the biggest line item, or one of the biggest line items, is the landscape maintenance and snow removal, and the snow removal is very variable. Of course, year over year, it really depends upon, of course, the weather, and so that usually is monitored, I guess, throughout the year, in terms of what that looks like. There was a constraint made by the town that was limiting, I guess, any fee above a certain amount.
So why are standard O&M items like sprinkler maintenance and plantings and replacements included here versus the whole of District 4? Why would the carriage house be special in their plants and their sprinklers?
There's my understanding, and Brandon, feel free to jump in. My understanding, Jason, is it's the configuration. So there'll be additional landscape areas that the district will be responsible for that it would not be responsible for in the other single family areas.
Yeah, if you flip back a couple pages on page 41, I'm not sure if that's 41, or actually 41 on Erie number 4, right there. That shows a picture of the additional areas that is covered under the landscape maintenance for the carriage house. So areas in green, all the areas in yellow are provided by kind of private areas and within the fencing. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the study and the resolution.
Do you have a second?
I will second.
So one question while you're doing that, what happens if those funds are not enough? Because if how many carriage house groups are there? And that it looks like it'd be a decent amount, and that was only what, $3,000 for sprinklers and plant materials. So what happens if this runs out to not be enough for carriage houses, is that then going to default to District 4 to maintain, or will this just be deferred year after year until that fee can catch up? What is in the resolution there for that?
I think we have,
Jason, sorry, go ahead, Brendan.
yeah, I think in terms of the format of the meeting, we do have public comment. We can address your questions, Jason. I mean, we do have contingency amounts in there and reserves as well.
I was just saying to Jason, that's part of the reason why we had the fee analysis done, so that we had a third-party consultant come in and just look at the reasonableness of the fees based on the areas, the current costs, experience in other communities. So, I mean, like any government entity, we brought in a consultant to try to give us the best guess possible. The answer, I guess, is if the fee is not enough, we'd have to go back to the town to try to increase the fee.
Yeah, just
Right.
knowing that we don't have, as residents, like I haven't been able to see the fee analysis for any of that. I haven't been able to see the fee analysis for what's going to happen as a member of the billing piece of it. I'm just trying to understand what's going to happen if that's not to be there, because I mean, in our current setup. So I'm just trying to make sure as a resident that, hey, we're 2 years in and now the carriage houses they have a ton of plans because of a freeze and there's not enough there to happen. As a resident, does that mean that comes out of my regular board forward funds because there's not enough money there, or does that stay dead? So I get that's where I haven't been able to see any of these, Jennifer, since I'm not a part of boards 2 through 4. So I'm just, as a resident,
Yeah.
I'm just very curious.
I'm happy to send you the meeting packet, Jason. It's all public information, so I'm happy to pass along the meeting packet with the fee analysis in there.
But for board 2 and 4, can you guys tell us from reviewing this as you're in the process of approving it, what happens? You're approving this motion, but can you tell us as residents what happens if there's not enough funds to cover? What is going to happen there from boards 2 and 4?
Jason, I think it's important to note that the town needs to approve this. So if there is a change in the expenses or snow removal is higher than anticipated and contingencies can't cover that, I think it's important that the boards will need to go back to the town and either, well, I guess they consider, a reduction in services, a reduction in snow removal, or they go back to the town and request a different fee amount. So that would be probably the action that would occur if the revenue does not provide for the expenses and the services that are out there. So I think it's important to note that, and it's also important to note that based upon this analysis, it was $2021, and as we all know, that cost inflation has been very high, and there's certainly risk there of costs that are changing. So I think it's important that the boards do go back if there is the need to adjust that fee. We have to go back to the town, and then go back to the board to approve a revised resolution.
All right. And I guess what I want to kind of get as a summation of this is that these services for the carriage houses that are being taken out of that fee, if the fee cannot cover it, no funds will come out of District 4 standard O&M levy to maintain those areas, correct?
That's correct. That's how I understand it. I think, and that's why we set it up as separate accounts.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, let's call the question.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Let's close out District 2's agenda. If you don't mind, we'll just go on to you, Alyssa, for ratification of the 2021 audit. I'll bring that up on the screen for you. Just let me know where you want me to drive to.
All right, yeah, so these are the 2021 audited financials for the district. The main difference between the financials you see during the year versus these are that these are full accrual, while our quarterly financials are modified accrual. I'm just going to go over these at more of a high level, touch on a few pages, unless there's anything like me to go into detail. So you can go to page 1, the statement of net position. I'll start off by saying there were no audit adjustments done this year or any significant events, really.
And it is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean and best opinion, correct?
Yes, we did get a clean opinion.
All right.
All right, this page is good. Yep. So this is our statement of net position. You see really our assets are about the same you would see on our balance sheets throughout the year. It's just cash and property tax, accounts receivable. Really the biggest difference here is going to be in our liabilities portion, and that's going to show our long-term debt for the year. So if you see that non-current liabilities, that last line of 18.6 million, that is the total outstanding balance on the 2018 bonds right there. Then the district does have an a negative unrestricted balance, and that is just related to the long-term debt, the obligation on the bonds. If there are no questions, we can go to page 5. I like to just go over this page because this is really just showing the difference between our yearly financials versus these government-wide financials. And as you can see, again, the only difference here is going to be that interest on the subordinate bonds. No other notable changes. Then we have our footnotes. I'm not going to go through every page. There were no notable changes from the previous years. These disclose our accounting practices, details of assets, debts, our agreements. I do like to go to page 14, just call attention, just so you guys know this is there. Yes, this page. We do have this table in all of our audits for the long-term debt. So you can see this is a summary of that 18.6 million broken out by series and by the additions throughout the year. And yep, the auditor, as you said, issued a clean opinion. Jennifer and her team did review, and these have been filed with the state. And if there are no questions, I'd entertain a motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify is presented.
Brandon, you're very quiet, but I heard a second there, a whispered second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, I think that takes us to the end of District 2's agenda, so I'll close this one out. I don't know why my computer wants to move to 5. That seems awkward. District 3, just I want to double check here. So for district number 3, as I mentioned, this is one of the districts where we have an exclusion pending. We actually have exclusions pending from districts 3, 4, and 5. We did receive petitions to exclude the property from the property owner of 100% of the property. I'll just bring up the maps because I think that's the easiest way to see what we're doing here. So the current map, which I've brought up here, shows that districts 2 and 3 are currently located in what's going to be the future carriage house area, filing 16. The exclusion here would be removing this area from District 3's boundaries. So all of this here would just be District 2 going forward. There's also exclusions pending for the area over here where we have 3, 4, and 5 overlapping. I'll just bring up the after map to help with that. So after exclusion, this, as I said, would just be District 2 here. The hatching needs to actually be removed. It's just District 2. District 3 would be this commercial and oil and gas area. And District 4 and 5's boundaries would actually just be removed to this tract H, which is a director qualification parcel. So those district boundaries would be taken down just to that parcel. So there's no overlap remaining. We do have some areas in magenta here, which are roadways, which have been dedicated to the town, which would remain in all the districts as well, because we'd have to have the town petition for exclusion if we wanted to take away that overlap. Since the town is a tax exempt entity as the owner of that property, it really doesn't have any material reason to have it excluded or change the boundaries since they're not being taxed. So that would also remain in all the districts. With that, I will just note that we did publish a notice of public hearing for these exclusions for districts 3, 4, and 5 for today's public hearing. And we do have resolutions included in the meeting packet for all these districts for these exclusions that set forth not only the notice, but also include the petition for exclusion. The district board will be making certain findings if it adopts the petition or the exclusion resolutions today. Essentially that the exclusion is the best interest of the district, in the best interest of the property seeking the exclusion, in the best interest of Weld County, that there's no substantial cost or economic detriment to the subject property, will not affect the district's ability to serve remaining properties within the boundaries, will not affect provision of public services and facilities, that the district will be able to continue providing services at reasonable costs. That's not going to have any effect on the employment or other economic conditions in the district or Weld County. That denying the position or adopting the resolution has no impact on the district, Weld County, or the state as a whole. That it's economically feasible. Service alternatives are available to the property being excluded, and no additional costs are expected to be levied against the property remaining within the district as a result of the exclusion. As you can see, all these districts will remain within the boundaries of one of the districts. So we're just removing here overlap that was always meant to be removed as the district, as the development within the districts move forward. So with that, I will stop talking and take any questions.
Do you want us to make a motion to open the public hearing?
Thank you, Brendan.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
All right.
Yep.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. The public hearing is open. We will take any comments or questions from members of the public on the exclusions from the boundaries of districts 3, 4, or 5.
Jennifer, I apologize if you already addressed this, but just thinking about the previous agenda item and this one, how would the carriage house fee, since District 2 will now have, single family homes and carriage house within it, how will we separately track the carriage house fee and the use of those funds? I just want to make sure we have a plan for that.
Yeah, and Alyssa did touch on that just briefly. There's a separate the accounting budget. There would be a separate sort of fund within the budget. probably shouldn't talk about accounting things because obviously I'm at a complete loss, but they track it completely separately. So those services, the agreements with those services and the fees will all be accounted for in a separate fund so that we know specifically what's going for those costs. And Alyssa, help me out here.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, the carriage house is going to be its own fund, and you'll see when we get to District 4, we have financials. So you'll see even that fund has no activity yet, but it's its own fund, and it's the same it's like our general fund, debt service fund. You can't use revenues from different funds to pay for different funds. It's its own fund, and we track it separately from the general fund and the debt service fund.
But I think, and that's helpful. I appreciate that. I guess the question I have is, let's say we determine the carriage house fee is insufficient, right, to maintain the services that we need to do there. And we go down the path that we're currently going down on the other ones, where we have to go to the town to request some sort of mill levy increase, fee imposition, whatever that is. Are we going to be asking the entirety of District 2 to approve that fee increase? Because that seems like we're going to mix up some interests of single family homeowners versus the carriage house. I guess I had always understood that carriage house would be sitting in its own district to avoid those concerns.
Understood. And Josh, to answer your question, yes, it would be the District 2 as an entirety would be considering the imposition of that fee, and that it would be single family residents as well as carriage house residents within that district. I think ideally, if you had a crystal ball, or if you go back in time, to segregate those may have made more sense into a different district. Unfortunately, with the District 2 having already issued bonds that cover that area where the carriage houses are located, we can't change the boundaries in a way that the carriage houses are within their own district.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking that there would be in theory, District 3 would overlap with District 2, and that would cover the incremental carriage house fees, but maybe that's.
Yeah, we have this I have this in a few other communities. You find that the residents in the single family houses are just as interested in making sure the carriage houses are carrying their weight with the fees as the carriage house folks are in making sure that their services are being maintained. So it hasn't been problematic in other communities where this has happened, but obviously, every community is its own.
Okay.
And Jennifer, the bonds for those, so I know District 1, District 2 have bonds set out for them. Do 3, 4, and 5 have any bonds that are going to be affected by this split?
No, only districts 1 and 2 have issued bonds. Any other
Would you,
comments or questions?
are you able to go back to that map real quick?
I'm sorry? The map.
The map split.
Long map.
And then if you,
New map.
okay, so there are no bonds at all for District 3, even though that's going to be a future commercial area?
There are currently no bonds issued except for District 1 and 2.
Alright.
I don't know what the future holds, Jason. There's no bond issuance in the works. There's been none issued right now.
Okay. I kind of get Josh's piece where it seems to make more sense that the carriage houses would have been their own unique district on that piece of it. Knowing that we have the bonds on there does make it very difficult. But just for self-management and planning on their own end, it would have been really behooved to have them as their own district in that piece. Once again, for District 1, we have no power, no nothing to say what we can do with that of it, but I fear for when District 2 is self-managed, trying to manage 2 unique property styles, or up to 3 unique property styles, because do we also getting townhomes in that area as well?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we're going to have a mix of 3 different home styles in that district, all with their own unique fees. I'm guessing this townhome property is going to have a different set of fees that are associated with it.
Yeah, most likely, yes.
Have fun, District 2. I wish I had better words for that.
This is not uncommon to have multiple collections within a financing district. So it's been done several times in many other communities.
While we're on the subject, do you guys know if the townhomes are going to be sold or owned and rented by Oakwood?
There haven't been any decisions on that item at this point.
Right. Any other public comment on the exclusions that are pending? Hearing none, I would take a motion to close the public hearings.
Motion to close the public hearings.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, then the action item we would be looking for districts 3, 4, and 5 would be to adopt the resolution, which is a resolution and order excluding the property. If those are approved, my office will then file with the court a motion and order for the court to order the exclusion of those properties for districts 3, 4, and 5.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolutions.
I will second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, closing out number 3's agenda. We have an audit exemption included in the packet today.
All right, yep. So these were, the application for exemption from the audit for 2021. They were prepared in the beginning of the year, filed by the deadline of March 31st, I believe. They were all sent out to the board for signature prior to filing, so everyone has seen these. There were no changes from the year-end financials, so unless there's anything specific you guys would like me to go over, I would just consider a motion to ratify.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, that takes us through District 3's agenda. We're making progress here. All right, District 4's agenda. I'm just going to bring this up. We have gone through this. We've done this. Okay, so item 6B is a resolution regarding adding a resident board member. I can bring that up on the screen. Was asked to prepare, and as Josh mentioned, this has been a topic that's come up several times over the last couple of years, a request that District 4 entertain, adding a representative of the District 1 or the community onto its board of directors. So this resolution basically goes over the governance, how board members are qualified. As a primer, in order to be eligible to serve on a board of directors, you have to be one, registered to vote in Colorado, but more importantly, you have to be a resident, an owner, or spouse of an owner, or qualified under a contract to purchase taxable property, which obligates you to pay taxes, or the spouse of that person. Since there are no residents or property owners outside of Clayton Properties Group within the District 4 boundaries, the pool of people who are able to serve on District 4's board is very small, and they're all qualified by contracts with Clayton Properties Group. This also just sort of sets forth that districts 1 through 5 are supposed to work collaboratively together pursuant to their service plan and their IGA that they have with one another, and that District 1 has requested the seat, and District 4, in furtherance of the coordination and collaborations, wants to grant a seat. And so with a lot of whereases, then I finally get to the meat of it, which basically says that if there's a vacancy that exists, which board 4 can't force a vacancy, a board can't force someone off the board. So there has to be a vacancy that exists, and there would have to be a subsequent qualification of a board member. The District 4 is willing and resolves to appoint a member of the community to the board. So that is the meat of the resolution. So I'll open it up to board members and for questions, comments on the resolution.
Yep, as you mentioned, and as Josh mentioned earlier, it's been a topic of conversation amongst the boards, and I think this resolution provides for that representation from District Number 1. And I'd also like to propose, I guess, an amendment to the resolution to extend it to board member in District Number 2 as well. So there would be an opportunity for a resident in District Number 2 to serve on the District Number 4 board to provide that official voice for the residents in each one of the districts. So I think that would be my proposal, I guess, for a motion to approve the resolution as revised to extend it to Number 1 and Number 2.
So Brennan, just for my clarity in redrafting the resolution, are you talking about 2 seats or 1 seat that would be a resident of 1 or 2?
2 seats.
2 seats, thank you. And you may have said that, but I missed it because somebody was beeping in. So 2 seats, 1 for District 1, 1 for District 2.
That's correct.
Thank you. So that was a motion to approve the resolution with those changes. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, and any comments, questions?
I guess one comment, maybe question to the folks that are represented here from District Number 1. In terms of timing, it'd be great to have, I guess, that representation as soon as possible, as soon as practical, really. But to move forward again in terms of discussions of financing, discussions of potential the items addressing the budget, the O&M budget, and also the 2023 budget as we approach budget season in August. So
yeah, and to that end, Brendan, I'll just we're putting your Oakwood Clayton hat back on. We would need to have 2 vacancies created in order for that to occur, because we do have a full slate of board members. So as soon as there are vacancies, I guess I would take direction from the board now that if I receive resignation letters from 2 board members such that we have 2 vacancies, what type of a process you'd like to undertake in order to find that representation, or if you'd like the boards to meet again to discuss that process.
I don't think we necessarily need to have a defined process. I think we would, leave it up to folks that are, represent the boards. Obviously, there's no residents, for District Number 2 currently, but I think we've had interest, from some folks, even on this call, that may fill the vacancy. And, if any individual chooses or resident chooses to participate in District Number 4 from District Number 2, we can address that as we have, as we appoint folks to District Number 2. But I guess in terms of District Number 1, I think what we would just ask is to, have the district number one board confer and, have a representative, I guess, be selected amongst the board to represent, or doesn't necessarily need to be on the board. It could be just a resident of the district.
Okay.
I'm
And
available if
Jason-
somebody wants to give me information. I don't know if I'm off base here, but I'm in District 1 here. So I missed some of what you said, but I'm always happy to be involved if somebody reaches out to me.
Great, Charles. And I think I put my email address in the chat. So if you reach out to me, I can connect you with the right folks. Josh and Jason, I guess I would defer to District 1. Once this is passed and we have vacancies, obviously District 1 can engage in whatever process they would want to make the selection of an individual to represent the District 1 community. So I guess there would be more discussion on District 1's part, not really District 4's part for the process.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jennifer. I think what we could probably do is call a special meeting to discuss that, and let the community know beforehand, because I'm open to it either being a representative of Board 1 or a community member. I don't have, I think that would be a topic of that discussion. We could publish it in advance and probably provide a recommend. Well, we could probably make that appointment in that special meeting.
Great. So I have a motion and a second to approve a amended resolution providing for 2 seats, one for District 1 and one for District 2. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
I have a question.
We can address the
do we-
question, but we can also take the vote too. But go ahead, proceed with your question, and then we'll take the vote.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just didn't want to get past it. Is there much turnover on Board 4?
This would be the first opportunity for the residents of District 1 and District 2 to participate in Board 4.
Right. It will, but there has to be a vacant seat, right? So I guess what are the chances? Like, how often does that happen?
Sure. Yeah, we'll talk amongst ourselves, I guess, in terms of the board members of number 4, and and talk about who may want to provide that resignation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, I got all 3. All right, thank you. That takes us up to interim claims for district number 4. Those were included in your packet starting at page 48. Alyssa, if there's anything you want to highlight, these I think are all fairly routine, but I'll let Alyssa speak to that.
Right, they're all fairly routine. These are the invoices processed and paid since the November meeting. That was the last time you guys saw any claims. Just a reminder, they have all been approved in bill.com by our CLA team, by Jerry at Timberline, and by Kelly, for a total of $342,505.03.
There aren't any questions. We'd be looking for a motion to ratify.
So moved.
Motion to ratify. Oh,
All right, I
Second.
have a, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All right, that takes us up to April 30th, 2022 financial statements.
All right, yes, we can start with the balance sheet. So these are the district's financials as of April 30th, 2022. Our first 2 lines represent our bank accounts. As of April 30th, we did have total cash of $210,824. Of this, $179,291 was available for operations and maintenance, and $31,533 available for debt service. Our next 5 lines represent our property taxes receivable from districts 1 through 5 as of April 30th. We have received all of those in May. Our prepaid expense line just represents our prepaid utilities. We do keep a credit balance on all of our accounts just to avoid any disconnects. We have our regular liabilities of accounts payable. We had $105,148 as of April 30th. I believe these have been paid by now. And then our landscape escrow deposits, which are ultimately due back to the residents. If there's no questions, we can go on to the general fund. So this is our statement of income and expenditures, where we capture the operations and maintenance revenues and expenditures. So we have some homeowners, some new homeowners, to say the column on the left is our annual budget for the year 2022 budget, and the middle column is our numbers, our actual to date numbers. So as of April, our main sources of revenue received so far are property and specific ownership taxes for the district and districts 1, 2, 3, and 5 dedicated to operations and maintenance. Just as a reminder, all the districts have a mill levy of 22.265 dedicated to this. As of April, all the districts have received about 39% of their specific ownership tax. District 1 has received about 54% of their property tax. District 2, about 58%. District 3, 95%. District 4, 91%. And District 5, 91%. Other than that, we have received some clubhouse rental revenue, design review fees. And then as you guys see, we have budgeted for our developer advance. No developer advance is needed yet. We'll likely need to start requesting those towards the end of the year. Then I'll move on to expenditures. We do have 2 pages. The first page does have the total, but then our second does go into detail. I would go back to the first page, sorry. Most of our lines are tracking within budget. I would just point out, really, we have one line, our election expense tracking underneath. We budgeted 50,000, but since there were no contested elections, we've spent about 9,000. As of April, our total expenditures are 206,330, with our ending fund balance of 114,379 available. And then you can go to the next page for them to take a look.
Now I can scroll.
Yes. If there's no questions, we can go to the next fund. So here's our special revenue fund. So this is going to be for the carriage house. As you guys see, no activity yet, since the fee has just been approved. And that's where all of this will be tracked. So as you see, there's no mill levies going to be here. That's none of our revenue. The revenue is going to be the fees and then our expenses. Then we can go to debt service. So far for debt service, our revenue comes from the district's debt service mill levy of 55.663. Again, District 4 has received about 91% of their property tax and about 39% of their specific ownership. So far, only expenses are county treasurer's fees. We will be making a repayment to the developer for outstanding advances later on this year when we've received majority of our revenue. These are just our budget messages. Go through, skip through those. All right. This is the district's schedule of cash position, an update of the district's cash as of May 26th. We have our operating checking account. It's just where our bills are paid. Nothing else really goes on in there, with a balance of $2,835. And then our C-Safe account, where all of our revenue is deposited, a balance of $182,860. And then with these 2 accounts less our reserves, that brings the district's total cash of $146,794. Of this, $104,725 is available for operations and maintenance, and the rest, about $42,070, is available for debt service. Then the next 5 pages are just going to be the property tax schedules for each of our district, just showing the detail of what we've received through April. And again, it has all those percentages on there, what we've received so far. And that's it for financials.
All right, you're on a roll. Go for the audit and we'll just get them all, we'll get them all approved at once.
Okay. All right, so again, these are the 2021 audited financials. Full accrual, it's the only difference here. I'll do the same basically as I went through District 2. So we can go to page 1.
Sorry, my
And the
computer didn't
same-
want to scroll.
No worries. The same as District 2, no audit adjustments, no significant events, a clean opinion. You'll see here, so most of our assets are the same as the balance that we've just seen. Really, the only difference here is going to be our capitalized assets, our assets that we like our expenses that we capitalize and then depreciate over the year, or land and construction in progress that's not been depreciated. That's those last two lines. Then our liabilities, they do show our long-term debt. So that last line, that due in more than 1 year, that 1.4 million, that is the district's outstanding balance on the developer advances. And the same, they do have a negative unrestricted net position, and that is due to our obligation back to the developer to repay the developer. And if we can go to page 5. So this again, this shows the difference between the financials, like the significant events that we record on the government-wide financials. And you see again, it's just capital outlay depreciation. So that's going towards our assets. And then the rest is activity. We had some developer advances last year and interest accrued on developer advances. And then the rest, these are the financials you guys see throughout the year, essentially. The same with footnotes, no notable changes from the previous years. And I'll show you guys that same table for the developer advances. That'll be on page 16. On this one, you see it is broken out between the fund, so between operations and capital advances, and between principal and interest, shows the additions and reductions throughout the year. And Jennifer and her team did review these, clean opinion, as I said. So I would entertain a motion to approve and ratify everything.
So we're accepting the financial statements and the schedule of Kat's position, and then we're ratifying the audit.
Moved.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Last but not least, on District 4's agenda, we have a building services scope of work to add to the master services agreement that you already approved with Clifton Larson Allen. This would add to their agreement, basically, the scope of work to do the billing services related to the carriage house. Happy to answer any questions on this. Has been reviewed by my office.
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, I'm done with District 4. Let's see if I missed anything on District 5.
Covered it.
Minutes, audit, yep, just the audit exemption, which I'm sure Alyssa's going to say you've all seen this because you've signed it, and nothing has changed. So if there's any questions, she's happy to answer them, not me, because I'm not the accountant. If not, since I'm the one who's already talking, we'd be looking for a motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then
Aye.
the most important item for all of these is a motion to adjourn all 4 meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'm going to take Chris. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. I'll be sending out signature items. I think, Brandon, you're headed out of town, so please DocuSign before you leave because we want to get those exclusions filed.
Yes. Okay. I'll look
All
forward.
right.
Very much.
Thank
Thanks, Ellen.
you all. Have a
Thanks,
great day.
everybody. Yep.